This is Tarot by the Tree. We're working on our 2x2 series where we look at each of the major arcana on the Tree of Life, and we just take a quick look at its partner, which lies on the same Sephira on the other tree, the Tree of Life. Today we are on card number 10. We have now moved completely through the Tree of Life in the order of creation from top down. Later on, we'll be looking at the Fool's Journey, which is in some ways a little more understandable. And that takes us from the depths of our world all the way up to the intelligent universe level. Today, we're looking at the Wheel of Fortune. This is card number 10. Whenever we speak of the 10 cards in the minor arcana, like this, we are referring to the end of a cycle. In the path of creation, the Tree of Life was made with the magician at the top, and then 10 cards all the way down to the bottom. And this is our planet Malkuth, is the Sephira, and this is Earth. This is the world that we live in. It's the end of the cycle of creation of the Tree of Life. As we mentioned, the places and aspects of the major arcana on the trees, they also govern the meaning of the numbered cards, the pips, the minor arcana. So we'll just take a quick, brief look at the 10 cards of the 4 suits. And we see that they talk about the end of a cycle too. And that's what the 10s mean, end of a cycle. How does a plan, a lifestyle, an episode, how does it end? How does it resolve itself? And there are 4 ways, according to the tarot cards. In this card, we see the end of your journey shows you've made it to the finish line, but you're carrying a great load. It's hard to see where you're going. The end of this cycle is burden. There's a lot of work still to be done, a lot of load you have to carry. That's one possible end of a cycle, is more of the same. Another end of a cycle is total loss, defeat, maybe destruction. That's a possible end of a cycle. On a more pleasant note, the end of a cycle can be joy, home, family, the beginning of things, the beginning of your own place, the beginning of your own family and your own lifestyle. And finally, the end of a cycle can be the kind of completion one finds when in old age everything you have built is likely to be carried on by your children, by the people you have taught. And those are the 4 ends of a cycle that are represented by the 4 suits of the tarot cards. Today we move to card number 10. It's the lowest Sephira on the Tree of Life. It is a place where the light of Keter, or the magician, is very faint. All light comes from the top of the tree and is kind of filtered and reflected down. Finally, at the bottom of the tree, our world, Malkuth, it's dark. It's devoid of the higher light that we're trying to seek. In this card, there's a lot of imagery, and we're not going to dive deeply into all the different kinds because it's a bit of a hodgepodge. There was a big effort in this card in particular, but in many cards in general, to at times shoehorn, but at least incorporate Egyptian lore into the tarot cards. And we'll see a lot of this. We'll see the Egyptian Typhon and Anubis. We'll see God's name written in here, as well as references to the tarot and the Torah. we're looking at reading cards. What does the card mean? So you understand it within a complete system. And that's what we're going to work towards today. The meaning of this card is very clear. Basically means there are forces beyond your control, and you can't defeat or avoid them. But we'll move on. It will be a little more specific than that. On the Tree of Life, this card is in the Sephra of Malkuth. It is our world, the planet Earth. It is, in a sense, a world of mineral, vegetable, and animal. And two realities occur here. The first reality is we all struggle in this world to rise above our animal nature to become fully human. Emotions tend to describe the state of this card. To be fully human is to feel all of our emotions, but our actions are not determined by them. When we're angry, we don't necessarily lash out. And there is a kind of a famous saying, and it's true, and it's good to keep in the back of our minds that we are not responsible for our emotions. If you feel an emotion and feel guilty about it, you've got a little problem, because emotions are not summoned by us. They occur in us. And at times they can be random, at times they can be faint, other times they can be absolutely overwhelming. As we've seen in the card, the Chariot, the idea throughout these cards is keeping emotion on some kind of attachment to the intellect. This is also a card of the novice or beginner. No matter how old you are or what state you are in or how much seniority you have, this card says you are entering into something new and you do not have full awareness of the situation. This is the card of the novice or beginner, and that can be you at any stage of your life. It may mean that things have changed suddenly, and the rules you used to abide by may no longer be active or enforced. In this state of relative newness, much of our world is shrouded in mystery. We imagine things, we believe in rumors and mysticism. The unknown parts of our world can seem fanciful at times. We'll describe this card now. There is a circle in the center of the Wheel of Fortune. It is surrounded by winged beasts. In the four corners, there's a person, an eagle, a bull, and a lion. All four animals are golden. They are reading books or sacred texts. A golden snake descends the outer circle while a fox-headed man ascends on the other side. And these have names and lore in Egyptian myth. This symbolizes, with the snake, the fall of our primitive animal nature. It is going to the bottom of the circle. On the other side, we see the rise of what is mostly a human figure, but still with an animal's head. We are struggling to rise above our animal nature, where the snake is descending into our animal nature. Atop the circle is the Sphinx, the symbol of wisdom, and in the Chariot we saw them yoked together as the imagination and the intellect. The Sphinx is blue like the sky, a little bit hidden, and symbolizing the power of intellect. In this card, there are clouds in each corner where the winged golden animals sit with their open books. The clouds represent the unknown and mysterious parts of your world. On the circle in the middle of the card are mystic signs with directions, letters. The four aspects of earth and the word tarot and Torah are both written there. the four aspects of Earth long ago, and they are described as different materials such as salt. But long ago, we think of the Earth was seem to be composed of four parts: earth, water, air or wind, and fire. These are also the four suits of coins, cups, swords, and staffs. They represent belongings, joy, power, and plans. Let's go straight to what would happen if this card was presented in a reading. You're doing a reading for somebody and this card is laid down. Now, the very common description of this card would be change. And you could say you're going to be going through some change, or you are going through some change. And in most cases, that would be accurate and the person would probably respond to that. But it actually means a little more than that. And we're going to try to narrow down the type of change that this refers to. So in a reading, I might say something like this. You have entered into a world that is new and somewhat unknown to you. You seek the wisdom of the Sphinx, but all you can really see is mysterious, and all you really know is largely based on your feelings, guesswork, and imagination. It may not seem like that to you now. You may be sure of the circumstance, but this card suggests things have changed and the rules have changed. This is a card about beginning your journey. It is also about the struggle to raise up from drudgery to awareness. One of the really interesting aspects of the Tarot by the Tree system was the discovery that the two trees and the Sephiroth encode Kabbalistic wisdom, and that wisdom had to be hidden. And they traveled around with this wisdom encoded on 22 cards. So the cards weren't going to be found and thought to be religious symbols. The cards were simply added to an existing deck of playing cards, much like our cards today, with four suits, ace to king in all four suits. The construction of this system is really evident with this card. When we compare the two bottom cards, the bottom card, the foundation, Earth, Malkuth of the Tree of Life, and the bottom card, Earth, Malkuth of the Tree of Knowledge. Those are the two, if you want, roots of the two trees. They're the two aspects of our world in the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. Malkuth, or the base of each tree, is represented by two cards that closely resemble each other. And let me just get that card out now. There it is. We'll take a look at those two cards now, and you'll see in their composition, they are in a sense the same card, but there are slight changes. And the changes are, in the Wheel of Fortune, we see a novice whose lack of wisdom is substituted with imagination. In the second card, it has the same composition. These are the two bases of the two trees. We see that the person is now fully human, and we see the animals in the corners have become what they really are, animals of the earth. They're not golden, and most of them don't have wings. The difference in the journey is in this card, the Wheel of Fortune, you're a novice, you're starting out, everything is new. In the second card, you have around you that wreath. The circle in the center is that wreath. And we see that wreath in other cards, such as the Six of Staves. It represents past accomplishments. It is sort of like a force field, a protective device. It is wisdom. It is a sense of encountering these things before and knowing how to handle them. On the first trip to the Tree of Life, in the Wheel of Fortune, we see the novice unprotected and succumbing to these whims of imagination. On the second tree, we see the person fully evolved, partially clothed, wrapped in a wreath of prior accomplishments. This is a card that's less fanciful. This is a card of experience. This is a card that begins the second journey up the tree of knowledge, where we see all the aspects of the first tree in a slightly different light. And there's where the lessons are taught. The difference between the two cards is the difference between our first journey up the Tree of Life and our second journey up the Tree of Knowledge. The Wheel of Fortune, we are naked, unprotected, and in a sense, bestial. We somehow imagine the forces around us to be imbued with mystical powers. This is our state when we are young, innocent, and ignorant. In the World card, we are fully human, partially clothed and surrounded by a wreath suggesting past efforts and accomplishments. We are protected by our acquired wisdom. In a reading, the Wheel of Fortune card means that for a time you are caught up in forces that are stronger than you. And I think when we talk about this card meaning change, that's the specific kind of change. This isn't change of your choice. This is change that sweeps you away, that you cannot avoid and you cannot overpower. The forces that you're going to be facing now are stronger than you, and you must deal with them without trying to wage a war against them. Like an undertow, the idea is recognize that force, rise with the tide and go with the flow. You are a little bit like a mote, a speck of dust. You are going to be pushed around a little bit here. And your only job is to handle it with grace and intelligence. This card reminds you, this is not a time to fight. You are overpowered and uninformed. Pass through adversity as a thinking person. Resist animal urges like anger or pride. So this is a card of humility. This is a time to experience, to learn, but not to try to control. And that's the kind of change that this card is suggesting. These are the base of the two trees. Very similar. This one, the first fool's journey, kind of naive and innocent. And this one has some worldly knowledge to guide him and to recognize the changes that you'll see on the second journey. Okay, Jocelyn, why don't we take a look? Are there any questions?
Not so far, but we'd like to say hello to Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Melissa, Yassine.
Hi, Melissa. Yassine.
Britta Sakar. They all say hi.
Hi.
Why are and also Melissa is asking if you have a book. She likes the way you describe things, and I've responded, we're working on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Why are the four animals golden?
These are gilded images that some people might even worship. And these are myths based on an unknown reality. These are figures that don't exist and they have no power over you. They're normal things wrapped up in imagination. And I think that they're gilded like that to show that they are images, but not actual living things.
Why isn't the Sphinx golden as well?
Well, the Sphinx isn't really part of this card. This card is not a card of wisdom. It is a card about gaining wisdom, clinging to wisdom when everything seems fanciful. Wisdom is still a goal, but at this stage, it's elusive.
Is emotion a bad thing? Should we strive to be more intellectual?
Yeah, that's what I sometimes wonder as we go through the cards and we look at the, for instance, the moon card. What happens when intellect is taken out of the equation? You're left with just emotion and a kind of a mental and emotional imbalance. So emotion is definitely a good thing. It's not just a good thing. It's not our little holiday from the busyness of our mind. It may be a part of what actually distinguishes us or separates us from animals. It's imagination that takes us beyond the realm of just our appetites. However, emotion that is not checked by our rational thinking may become a system of false beliefs. Emotion raises us above the animals, but it must be harnessed to intellect, or we will revert back to an animal-like thinking.
Why do the golden characters in the corners of the card all read books?
I think it suggests a fallacy that some youth cling to. In our childish imagination, we may see humans as only animals, and you can hear people say that all the time, especially if you're sort of a scientific person. You'll say humans are just another form of animal. Horses, dogs, earthworms, planaria, all just animals.
Sarah is asking,
I
sorry.
hadn't quite, just
sorry.
let me finish this. We may see them as only animals, and animals as possessing human attributes and even magical abilities. These are illusions. This card speaks of the difference between humans and animals. And part of the whole philosophy of tarot does suggest that there's an inherent difference between our species and all other species. And it's not really a scientific thing. I don't think it is a belief system. This is a card about rising above our animal natures. Sorry, what were you saying about Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah's asking, we have a few questions. Sarah is asking, what advice would you give if the world card is drawn?
Oh, the world card is, we will be getting to that, but the world card, as we've mentioned, is the more mature aspect of the Wheel of Fortune card. The advice that I would give to the person is that you're still a searcher, you're still a wanderer, but now you are protected. You have a kind of a wisdom, you have an understanding of cause and effect, and you have the ability to think through situations and not be caught in mind traps like fantasy and imagining things that don't exist. My advice with this card is follow your emotions, make sure they are backed up by your intellectual thinking, and you can trust that the experiences you've already had will serve you in this new situation. In this card, you wouldn't trust your intuition because, as we mentioned, you're an ignorant person, you're a young, naive person. No matter what your age, the situation you are in now isn't abiding by the old set of rules. In this card, you can trust because you've been through the tree of life already. You're beginning your ascent up the tree of knowledge, and you're already equipped with some knowledge, and you can trust your feelings at this stage. That's what my advice would be. Proceed into new territories and trust your previous experience.
Cole is asking, what should I do if I draw the one with that skeleton dude with the robe?
Skeleton.
The, d- is that the death card? I
The
think
skeleton dude with the rope. I'm thinking the devil card. Skeleton.
if you could tell us the name of the card quickly, it'd be easier to find.
Oh, okay, death card.
Okay, it is that.
Okay, can you read me the question again?
What should I do if I draw the death card?
Just the death card?
Yeah.
Okay. The death card means something very specific. It means there's going to be something new in your life, but it will come out of the remains of something that is dead in your life. For instance, let's say you had a bicycle repair shop and the business went bankrupt. You lost the business. But then in your basement, you're tinkering around with parts of bikes and you invent a new kind of bicycle. That would be this new business is based on the failure or the death of an old business. So with those two cards together, that's what we're looking at is you will see new life, you will see new beginnings, and it will not come out of thin air. It will rise from the remnants of something that has failed.
Melissa is asking, the way you're explaining these cards, is it the Tree of Life or Kabbalah or a mix?
Okay, Kabbalah is a really wide, deep, at times confusing belief system that teaches an ancient wisdom. Okay, Kabbalah is real, it's true, it's big. The Tree of Life is made to be a symbol of Kabbalah. The Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge are a way of encapsulating Kabbalistic wisdom. There was probably a time when religious symbols and paraphernalia weren't always accepted. So it was a way to carry the wisdom of your belief system in a way that wouldn't be recognized by other people.
By the way, Noel says hi.
I know.
What is the overall short form message of this card?
All right. We're looking at the Wheel of Fortune. And here's what this means, sort of, maybe in a nutshell. You don't understand what's really going on. You may think you do, but there's something behind the scenes that you're not aware of. You sometimes struggle with the difference between your ideas and the world around you. They're not always in sync. You are presently under the influence of forces stronger than you and beyond your control. And for some people, that may be hard to understand. They're still looking for a way out, for a way to combat it. And this card says, no, you are in the grip of something more powerful than you, and it will only be injury if you try to fight against it. This is a time to learn, make mistakes, and then learn from them. You'll be making a lot of mistakes because, as we mentioned, this is a card of sort of relative ignorance. At this time and in this place, you have no power and you are not in control. Once that's accepted, your energy won't be wasted in futile areas. This is a card about change, but more it's about being able to adapt to change. And that's it. We have gone through the Tree of Life from top to bottom, and next Wednesday we'll be starting at the top of the second tree, the Tree of the Knowledge of Good and Evil.
I don't know if you want to answer this question.
Okay.
Sorry. Shekinah Collective, he's saying, wow, for your honesty. And do you come from Hebrew lineage? Just curious.
No, I don't. Bye for now. See you next week.